Hello and welcome to the Channel 51 Independent News, and you may be watching this on Cafe Lockdown as the 6 p.m. nightly news bulletin, or could be listening on WRMI where this program airs each day at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. That means that if you're in California, you will hear it at 4 p.m. There you go. Well, there is a lot of news coming out of Australia today and around the world, and we'll get into all that in a moment. But if you've just joined us for the first time, you can subscribe at channel51.com.au. That's the easiest place to find us. And of course, you can go on and subscribe if you like. It's quite easy. You can even become a paid subscriber to channel51.com.au for the great price of just $51. That represents a saving of over 30% this month in the introductory month of the brand new independent news channel on Australian social media and being spread all around the world, even via global radio on WRMI. So let's get into the first big story of the day, and tragic and horrific details are emerging about a pregnant woman found dead in Melbourne alongside her partner, who was found decapitated with his head mounted on a spike. The bodies of Athena Georgopoulos, 39, and Andrew Gunn, 50, were found inside a unit on Adrian Crescent in Mount Waverley about 9:55 p.m. on Monday night. Heavily armed police swarmed the Adrian Crescent property at the time after a neighbour heard screams and called 000.
Grisly double murder. This 34-year-old is swarmed by police. With no shoes and a bloody shirt, the homeless man is handcuffed and taken away in a divvy van.
All these undercover cops all the way down the street. Crazy.
He was arrested at Westall train station, 7 kilometres away from where the body of a man and woman were found by police.
Police will allege that the accused was known to the couple and that one of the victims lived in the unit. The couple had been together for around 3 years and were excited to welcome their miracle baby daughter. Miss Georgopoulos was 5 months pregnant when she died. The alleged motive remains unclear, though reports suggest drugs have been a factor. Now, the RBA has reduced the cash rate from 3.85% to 3.6%, a level not seen since 2023. Now, if the rate cut is passed on in full to borrowers, then this would equate to a saving of around $150 a month for someone with a mortgage of $600,000.
Today, the board decided to cut the cash rate by 25 basis points to 3.6%. Monetary policy has been working as intended, and we've made good progress on bringing inflation down over the past 18 months. The board's now cut the cash rate by 75 basis points since February this year, as we've become increasingly confident that inflation is on track to be in our 2 to 3% target range on a sustainable basis. Because the price level has gone up so much during the period of high inflation from 2022 to 2024, households are still feeling the pain of those higher costs. And this is why we're so determined to keep inflation down.
We're looking at 2% growth. That's the slow lane for the Aussie inheritance. You know, we're not used to muddling along in that fashion. We may end up with quite weak consumption growth off the back of quite weak income growth. You think that there's a danger that, you know, productivity is hard to conceptualise, that people will think that the bank is just keeping rates too high?
Well, I don't know, Tom. I think the way that we'll be judged is whether we've got inflation coming down and employment is being maintained. And if we can do that, I don't think there's any evidence we're keeping interest rates too high. I want to come back. I mean, I've got so many questions about productivity. The news here isn't productivity. The news here is that this is our third decrease in interest rates. We've had 75 basis points now, and that our inflation is gradually returning sustainably to the target, and that the unemployment rate is remaining pretty low in an historical sense. That is the good news here. And so far that doesn't suggest we've had interest rates too high. It suggests that we've managed you might remember we were in this room maybe a year ago being criticised for not taking interest rates high enough. So I think that's the news that we should be focusing on, and that's the evidence we'll be focusing on to see whether or not interest rates are too high.
So it's fairly complicated, isn't it, when you think that it should just be a case of dropping interest rates and therefore stimulating an economy. But when you have a government that is intent on spend, and therefore stimulating the economy, it's kind of hard for the Reserve Bank to responsibly reduce rates at the same time to add further stimuli. There needs to be some sort of balance. You can't have everything going in one direction and not expect it to affect inflation, which is effectively when there are more people looking for goods than there are goods being produced in any economy at that stage. So that's why people are talking about productivity. So with the productivity statement being held next week in Canberra, chaired by Treasurer Jim Chalmers, whereby Treasury has been told, or has told the government, that it must increase taxes and slash spending in order to get its budget back on track. There is no shortage, though, of trade unions, Labor, Greens and Teal members all coming up with ways to increase taxes and further erode business confidence, as it was alluded to in the press conference there with Michelle Bullock. Now, some suggestions that were being put up that we'll see next week were to increase the GST from 10 to 15%, to cut negative gearing and the capital gains tax concessions, whilst also lowering the threshold on superannuation balances from $3 million to $2 million, where the rate of taxation there would double from 15 to 30%. However, there is also an expectation of another 3 rate cuts, which would take the official rate to 2.85%. If we look at this chart from Sky News here, telegraphing the interest rates from way back in July of 2022, when Anthony Albanese first became Prime Minister, that would have been the first RBA meeting. The rates went from 1.35 immediately up the next month by 0.5%, and then 0.5% again, and then 0.25%, 0.25%. So 22 was a massive rate increase where rates went up by 1.75%. Officially, they peaked in November of 23. They held there until December of 24. And then they dropped in February of 25, and they've now dropped 3 times. So we're back at rates that were seen from March of 23. So it's been almost 2.5 years there. Meanwhile, lucky you're not in the US, because Donald Trump has posted that Jerome Too Late Powell, who is the Fed chief, the equivalent of Michelle Bullock, must now lower the rate. Steve Mnuchin really gave me a beauty when he pushed this loser. The damage has already been done. Already being too late is incalculable. Fortunately, the economy is so good that we've blown through Powell and the complacement board. I am, though, considering allowing a major lawsuit against Powell to proceed because of the horrible and grossly incompetent job he has done in managing the construction of the Fed buildings. $3 billion for a job that should have been a $50 million fix-up. Well, he's not mucking around there at all. Meanwhile, Labor is doing a review of its landslide election win. AI and misinformation are in the crosshairs. So Labor will review its May 3 election victory to better prepare for cyber misinformation and AI threats in future federal campaigns. The party's national executive has appointed 4 people to lead a months-long review into the campaign, despite Labor winning 94 seats in the lower house and securing its biggest victory in decades. Submissions from party members will be called for on Wednesday. The former State Secretary Chris Ford, the Australian Services Union National Secretary Emmeline Gaskey, former West Australian Labor official and 2022 election review chair Linda Oshlam, and former Albanese government staffer and consultant Moksha Watts will run the process. Due to be completed by the end of the year, the terms of reference include consideration of key Labor policies, communication, messaging, resonance with voter groups around the country, and pushback on attacks from Peter Dutton and the Coalition during the 5-week campaign. It will also look at AI and other emerging risks, including misinformation, fragmentation of the electorate, cyber threats, and polling booth safety. Goodness me, one-sided view there. Maybe you look at everyone there, Albo. The review is also likely to guide Labor's contributions to future debates about electoral reform in Parliament. The review team is expected to examine trends in voting behaviour across local, state and national levels, as well as the trend towards increasing early voting preference flows and demographic shifts around the country. Now, if you'd like to support independent news, you certainly can at channel51.com.au. You can become a free subscriber or a paid subscriber, and you can get an annual plan for just $51. That works out at around 98 cents a week to support independent media, and we are more than grateful for your support, whichever way that you can do it. Even a like, a comment certainly is well valued, and a share goes a long, long way. into many ways that you can support independent media. Well, let's get into some more news now. And RFK Jr., well, he has gone and fought for a medical journal report on aluminium in vaccines to be rejected or to be withdrawn. And unfortunately for him, that has been rejected in itself. Let's play you that report now. A medical journal is declining a call from Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to retract a study that authors said showed no association between aluminium, which is used as an adjuvant in many vaccines and chronic diseases. The journal Annals of Internal Medicine released the study on July 15. Danish researchers, including Anders Havid, said they studied records from children born in Denmark between 1997 and 2018 and looked for links between exposure to aluminium and 50 disorders, including autism spectrum disorder. This nationwide cohort study did not find evidence supporting an increased risk for autoimmune, atopic or allergic or neurodevelopmental disorders associated with early childhood exposure to aluminium-absorbed vaccines, they stated. Kennedy said in an op-ed that there were major problems with the paper, such as the exclusion of all children who died before the age of 2 and children who were diagnosed with early respiratory conditions. These choices suggest an intention to exclude the children at highest risk of harm, he said, calling on Annals to immediately retract this badly flawed study. Kennedy also noted that supplementary material, an updated version of which was added after the paper's publication, indicated an increased risk of Asperger's syndrome with higher aluminium exposure. Havid said the study was designed and inspired by an American study published in 2022 that found a link between aluminium exposure from vaccines and asthma. He also said he maintained that the study does not support the idea that aluminium exposure was associated with increased risks of any of the disorders. Meanwhile, Dr. Christine Lane, Editor-in-Chief of Annals and a Professor of Medicine at Thomas Jefferson University, told Reuters that Kennedy raised issues that may underscore limitations of the study, but the issues did not invalidate what they found, and there's no evidence of scientific misconduct. I see no reason for retraction, she said. Other critics in the comments to the journal highlighted how there was no comparison to unvaccinated children and said that children's outpatient diagnoses did not appear to be included. Well, beginning in 2017, the intel officer who worked on the House Intelligence Committee repeatedly told the FBI that Adam Schiff authorised leaking classified information to destroy Donald Trump during the Russiagate hoax. The whistleblower said that Democrat Rep. Eric Swalwell was likely the source of the classified leaks, and at the time, Adam Schiff served as the ranking member and later the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee. Schiff is now a US Senator for California. And here is this report now with Benny Johnson speaking to Judge Pirro.
Adam Schiff, today there was an FBI 302 that has now been declassified by Kash Patel. It's gone to Congress, and it's about Adam Schiff leaking classified information. It's a whistleblower from his office, and the documents are here and they're public. And Brett Tolman is saying, well, you listen, only the U.S. Attorney for Washington, D.C. can make a decision on a case like this. And so my question is open-ended. Have you reviewed his documents? Are you familiar with the Adam Schiff's and the criminal conspiracy to leak against President Trump? Do you plan on investigating?
You know what, Benny? I think you know that this is my wheelhouse. And the difference between me and some other people is that I don't talk about what I'm investigating. I don't talk about what I'm doing. When I have the evidence, when I have enough to go forward, you will hear from me loud and clear.
Well, it's been no secret that President Trump and Adam Schiff are virtually enemies, and it's clear now that Adam Schiff sought a pardon, an auto pen pardon, and the House Intelligence Committee also got a free pass when it came to January 6th in that investigation there that Adam Schiff was a part of. So there is no love lost. Well, it got all the way to the White House press room. Here is Caroline Levitt and her response to questions on the subject of Adam Schiff.
On that intel at this time. Monica.
Thanks, Caroline. My question involves Russiagate. A whistleblower alleges that then Congressman Adam Schiff approved leaking classified information to smear President Trump's image during the Russiagate scandal. Does the president plan to investigate Adam Schiff, and what would accountability look like if more information confirms this report?
The president has already said he wants to see Adam Schiff held accountable for the countless lies he told the American people in relation to the Russiagate scandal. I brought Tulsi Gabbard out to this podium to talk to you about all of that, and this administration is taking accountability very seriously. As for this new FBI whistleblower report, I understand Kash Patel last night declassified a 302 FBI document showing that a whistleblower who is a Democrat, a career intelligence officer who worked for Democrats on the House Intel Committee for more than a decade, repeatedly warned the FBI in 2017 that then Rep. Adam Schiff had approved leaking classified information to smear then President Donald Trump over the Russiagate scandal. This is obviously a bombshell whistleblower report. Hopefully more people in this room will cover it as such. And I have a quote from the FBI director for all of you. He has said this: "For years, certain officials used their positions to selectively leak classified information to shape political narratives. It was all done with one purpose: to weaponize intelligence and law enforcement for political gain. Those abuses eroded public trust in our institutions. The FBI will now lead the charge with our partners at DOJ, and Congress will have the chance to uncover how political power may have been weaponized and to restore accountability." That's what the administration is focused on, and hopefully we'll see some more media reports on this whistleblower allegation. If this were reversed, if this were allegations against the president or any of these cabinet officials, I'm sure everyone in this room would cover it as such. Elizabeth, go ahead.
Thanks, Caroline.
Truly extraordinary moments in American political history. And you feel like that we are very, very close. And at the end of this bulletin, I'll show you just how close we really are. Meanwhile, John Solomon spoke with Steve Bannon, and he's not pulling any punches either.
FBI has known since 2017 that Adam Schiff was accused of leaking classified information by one of his own staffers, a longtime Democrat staffer on the House Intelligence Committee, went to the FBI 4 times between 2017 and 2023 to say that Adam Schiff, starting when he was ranking member of the House Intelligence Committee, leaked classified information. In fact, he was in a meeting. He was in a meeting where Schiff authorized the leak of information. Obviously, Schiff wouldn't do it himself. He'd ask some of his people downstream from him. That staffer told the FBI he considered Schiff's instructions to be illegal, unethical, and treasonous, the same word that Tulsi Gabbard first used a few weeks ago. Despite having 4 interviews with this gentleman and getting very specific information from him. And by the way, he was a career national security officer who got assigned to the House Intelligence Committee. He leaned Democrat. He was a Democrat by self-identification. The FBI did nothing. And I think that is, well, how many times did we hear, oh, we're taking these leaks seriously, we can't run them down? In this case, they ran it down. They could show from an eyewitness that Adam Schiff had approved classified leaks. They chose, the Justice Department chose not to bring a prosecution.
Now, the whistleblower was also able to provide information that told federal agents that Adam Schiff was promised the position as CIA director if Hillary Clinton won the 2016 election. The Democrat whistleblower was abruptly fired for reporting Schiff's leaks to the FBI. Where have we heard that story before with whistleblowers? Now, according to Real Clear Investigations reporter Paul Sperry, Deep State Washington Post reporter Ellen Nakashima was likely the recipient of Schiff's classified leaks during the Russiagate scandal. Let's put some of that up on the screen for you now. And this is the tweet from Paul Sperry, which says newly declassified documents show Obama's spooks used Washington Post stenographer Ellen Nakashima to plant 3 major Russiagate stories. 1, the CrowdStrike DNC hack. 2, the ICA Putin-Trump consensus. And 3, the Carter Page Russian agent Pfizer's. Nakashima is a useful idiot and a Pulitzer fraud. And you'll notice there that Nakashima was involved in a national security and press freedom conversation alongside John Brennan. And this is the update from Sperry. developing Ellen Nakashima, the Washington Post's handmaiden for the deep state, is now showing up in FBI 302s as the likely key recipient of classified intelligence leaks from Adam Schiff regarding Russiagate. Now, what is so interesting now about that story is that we now have seen this headline pop up, breaking: Obama's communist former CIA director John Brennan has reportedly fled the country, in a story written by Joe Hoft. And Roger Stone has shared this on his X page. Sources tell me that admitted communist, Islamic convert and traitor John Brennan has fled the country and is hiding out in Austria, where MSNBC has built a makeshift studio for him to make it appear that he is in the United States. Brennan has no intention of returning to the country and can be considered to be on the lam. Goodness me, it is massive, isn't it? As you can see just how close we are and the pressure really building now. And if John Brennan, the former CIA director, has fled the country, that is massive, as these documents, these now declassified documents, are coming out into the open. And you can see how easily it is that secrets can be manipulated for the benefit of those who control the secrecy. Well, meanwhile, we are waiting with bated breath to see what will happen with the meeting between Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump in Alaska this Friday, US time. And this headline's popped up in the Telegraph out of the UK. Ukraine prepared to cede territory held by Russia. Zelensky's softened position comes ahead of Friday's peace summit in Alaska. So what do we know in the run-up to the peace talks in Alaska? Kiev regime leader Zelensky was featured in dozens of news outlets repeating the same line, which were the Washington Post. Ukraine will reject any proposal that involves ceding territory to Russia, Zelensky says, the BBC News. They go on to say that Zelensky says Ukraine will not give up land, as Donald Trump suggests the idea of meeting Vladimir Putin in Alaska. Reuters reports Ukrainians will not give their land to occupiers. The Straits Times, Zelensky says Ukraine will not cede land to Russia for peace. And Bloomberg, Zelensky rejects ceding land as key security officials meet. But now it seems that he has clarified that he will not cede land that he still holds. The Ukrainian stated goals went down from demanding the 1991 borders back, meaning that they even want the Crimean Peninsula returned, to making a stand for the 2020 borders, regaining all the 25% of territory lost in the war. And now they appear to only want to keep what they still have. British press is reporting that Ukraine may agree to stop fighting and cede territory already held by Russia as part of a plan for peace. So the Telegraph going the other way, saying that Zelensky told European leaders that they must reject any statement proposed by Trump, which sees them giving up Ukrainian land they still hold, but that Ukrainian territory in Russia's control could be on the table. This would mean freezing the front line where it is and handing Russia de facto control of the territory it occupies in Luhansk, Donetsk, Zaporizhia, Kherson, and Crimea. The supposed peace plan would be endorsed by Moscow, and it included freezing the front lines in southeastern Ukraine, that is in Kherson and Zaporizhia, if Ukraine agrees to withdraw from areas of Donetsk and Luhansk that it controls. So let us now play for you Pete Hegseth speaking on the subject earlier.
Nobody else could have created the conditions that lead to a meeting like this.
Hasn't been there since 2015, Putin in the United States.
Nope. And certainly under Joe Biden, the violence raged, the war raged, and Putin never took him serious enough to even consider a meeting. So already President Trump has changed the game. He's created the conditions for a possible negotiated settlement, which is his goal from the beginning, at a very complex battlefield. I don't think Vladimir Putin would be meeting unless he's felt that heat. And I think there's a chance. And the president's laid out the parameters, and so is Steve Witkoff and others who are in the. We're in the strength side of the peace through strength business, but on the negotiating side, there's going to be, could be land swaps. There's going to be concessions. No one's going to be happy, but if anybody can do it, it's going to be President Trump.
Very, very promising, to say the least, that Putin is going to be standing on American soil in Alaska, which used to be Russian soil, to meet with President Trump. And this has been a long time coming. So this is due to happen Friday, US time. So perhaps by next week, there will be a real result or not. Meantime, in the US, all focus is now on crime and the crime waves. And finally, there are people in power who are wanting to do something about it. And it's caused a lot of Democrats to come out and say that they don't have a crime problem. But in DC, the murder capital of the US, if not the world, Judge Janine Pirot. Well, in her capacity as an official, she's got a lot to say on the subject.
To me is that there is a whole community that is suffering because of the violent crime in this district. And anyone who wants to tell me the crime is down and that we don't need an emergency focus on crimes of violence, all they need to do is take a look at this and talk to the loved ones and the family members of these individuals, all shot and killed long before their time. Now, over here are the individuals who were shot and killed under the age of 20, all teenagers in 2025. 16. And the number here is 16. Again, all members of the minority community here. I don't know how many of these cases have been solved, but what I can tell you is, again, it's guns on the streets. It's individuals who are not concerned about accountability, who don't have any reason to fear law enforcement. I am here today to tell you that on behalf of all of these victims, all of these families, that they're going to be accountable, that we are going to make a difference, and that we are going to make sure that law enforcement is focused on these innocent, now silent victims of crime in the district.
Terribly sad, isn't it, when you think that there has to be some resistance to solving murder? Well, meantime, this resident of DC explained why for the elderly, you've got to be inside well before dark.
We need all the protection that we can get in the city because the city is really getting dangerous. A person like me at this age, I have to make sure to come home before sundown.
Well, there you go. Who would want to live in a society where you have to be inside before dark for your own safety and call it the land of the free and the home of the brave? Well, perhaps this is where we are headed. This headline popping up, exclusive. The Pentagon plan would create military reaction force for civil unrest. Documents reviewed by the Post detail a new National Guard mission that, if adopted, would require hundreds of troops to be ready around the clock. A reaction force for civil unrest. Why would there be a reaction force for civil unrest if you're simply rounding up criminals who are in the frame for violent crimes all the way up to murder? Or could it be that the National Guard is in town in Washington, D.C., as we're seeing people like Adam Schiff being exposed, John Brennan possibly fleeing, and many others involved in Russiagate, and potentially the same people, as Trump said, in the Epstein files that could well be rounded up and handcuffed and arrested? Is that the civil unrest that Trump is talking about? These are truly extraordinary times that we are living in, and we're here to report it for you from Australia, but around the world. And I trust that you are enjoying this new independent news bulletin that you can find directly at channel51.com.au, or you can reach out at jasonqcitizen.substack.com, on my X page at jasonqcitizen1, and of course on the Cafe Locked Out Network, where you can link up with dozens of independent media personalities. There you go, around Australia, and of course on WRMI Global Radio. It is a great delight to be able to present this to you. And once again, if you'd like to subscribe, channel51.com.au, where you can subscribe for free, or you can join for a paid subscription to give you extra bonuses, where it was $75 and now $51. Well, thanks everyone for watching. I'll see you all on the next